Хорошо. 3, 2, 1. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you are, and for some ungodly reasons, you have the boredom to watch these shows. V has been nice enough to allow me in his remote house. V, welcome to my channel.
Thank you for having me.
And unlike previous times, I launched a ticket into our internal system and asked our kind donors to submit questions for you. And they did.
Well, I'm glad there's an overlap between our audiences.
Yeah, so as a result, I'm going to try to follow whatever you guys wrote here, though not entirely. Yeah, let's just get straight into it. You're developing a video game.
Yeah.
Why? And what kind of video game? First of all, what kind of video game, and then why?
Right. It may surprise some people because as a right-winger, I'm making a hentai game. It's not very Christian. But there's a market for it. Like I noticed it in the United States right now. If anyone plays video games, you'll notice that the women, they're not called women anymore. They're called body type A. I'm not kidding. Like
or WMXN?
No. Like if you play a video game right now, like a modern video game, and you go into the character creation screen, you do not have like male, female. You have body type A, body type B. You can tell which is the woman because the chest is covered. The male has like naked chest. And then you have pronouns. And yeah, so like for example, a very popular game right now, Baldur's Gate, has the same thing, body type A, B, C, D, so it confuses you a little bit more. You got the pronouns, you can play with a woman with a cock. There's bear sex in it. And
bear sex as an animal?
Yes.
Oh, right, okay.
Like literally, this was something that the game journalists applauded. Like they were cheering.
Of course they did.
Have you ever played an RPG like
No.
Neverwinter? Okay. So in this fictional world, like you create a character, and like part of it is you can have relationship with the companions. And it literally has a druid. It transforms into a bear, gets over your character. There's an actor that recorded the fuck sounds. Right. And the journalists, the progressives, they were cheering this. They were clapping. They were very excited. It disgusted me.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I don't care that you're afraid. I've seen what makes you cheer.
Yeah, exactly. And I've been arguing with these individuals on Twitter for a long time, and they were like, "Well, if you don't like the current state, then make your own. If you don't like the current state of video games, then go watch porn." And I'm like, "Well, you know what? Fuck it. I'll do both."
Legit?
And they're very upset about it.
You're preparing to do porn as well? Or?
No. It's just like drawings. I'm not using real people, which is very interesting. I get more backlash than an actual woman that will show tits on the internet. And they're drawings, like adult drawings. Like I don't have any drawings that are underage, or I'm not promoting any of that. It's just like normal anime drawings with ush-cushy ladies. And for some reason, it freaks out people on the left a lot.
Why is that? Why do you think that happens?
I genuinely think that there may be what appears to be a way to demoralize young men. Unironically, I genuinely think that. Because when I was a teenager, I liked, tits and violence. I think Eros and Thanatos is what every normal, healthy young man likes. But if you express that in today's climate, especially on the left, you are being shamed for it. It's not normal, it's pathological.
Right.
Now, if you're a furry, if you're into LGBT issues, Drag Kid Story Hour, if you want LGBT content in your medium, that is promoted. That is applauded.
Right, but
that is great.
even that one has tits and violence. I mean,
No, they have like this thing that's against the male gaze, I guess.
Lol.
Everything that's against the male gaze, like everything that would, they actually say this, they want you to feel uncomfortable. Anything that makes the straight man feel uncomfortable is promoted and applauded.
Right, which creates the niche and the market for your product. Because what you're describing is definitely not profitable. It flops.
Yeah, I mean,
if the purpose of the product is to make you feel uncomfortable, then why the hell buy it?
To be more blunt, there is a study that said that straight men looking at two gay men kissing causes the same revulsion like watching maggots. Now, that doesn't mean that, maggots should be, like if a commercial that wants to show maggots shouldn't be allowed to exist. But it begs the question, like, why would you promote that? Like how would you sell your product using something that makes people wrinkle their nose at it? This is very bizarre, right? So the only way that I can explain it is that there is a push to demoralize young men, to make them feel like behaving the way they are is unnatural.
Yeah, this is not new, but okay.
But I just see it in media right now. It's in the corner of the internet that I'm in, and it's being intensified.
Right, because I was making podcasts about this in like 2009. It's not something new. It's been around in North American media probably at least 30 years now. In European media, slightly newer. We're a little bit behind the curve, but yes. Nevertheless, you found an economic opportunity around it. So if these people are purposely making their products crap, let's try to make a product that is...
I don't think I'll compete with them or anything. But like, I just put the product. If people like it, then
no, of course
they
you're
will
not going to
support
compete
it.
because they don't even try to compete. They make their products intentionally terrible.
It is just bizarre. But what I also noticed, and this is not about pornography or anything, the concept of romance is dead in the West. I haven't seen a romantic movie, like for example, Disney cartoons, right? The modern Disney cartoons, like Snow White and whatnot, they actually say that they don't want the prince. Like this is not a story about the woman needing a man. It's a story.
The prince kissing the princess without her consent is rape or something like that.
Yeah, but like not even that now. It's just like they completely remove any type of romance from any movie. And I was asking people, it's like, can you name me a Hollywood movie or even a video game that has the concept of romance and it's coming from the last 5 years from the United States?
No, I mean I don't play video games at all, but
but movies, TV shows.
I do keep a watch. I do keep an eye on whatever the Americans are doing. By that I mean I read the synopsis.
Yeah.
Because I'm on a moratorium. No American movies and no movies in English at all, at least till 2040, until maybe they get to their senses. I know quite a few Korean movies that do that.
Yeah, Korean movies are really great.
I know one or two Ukrainian
Squid
movies.
Games was good. Yeah.
I know a few Ukrainian movies who do that. I know a Hungarian movie that does that. A few French ones too, but not American, no. Yeah. Although, of course, even the French ones have been
It is bizarre that I, as a man, am wondering, why aren't there more movies with romance when it's usually like a female thing? Titanic was something that women liked. But you don't get that anymore.
Yeah, but the new generation of women prefers, 50 Shades of Grey.
But even that, even that is
but that one is not a romance movie. And in fact, if you make the main character slightly uglier, it's a movie about a serial killer, a creepy serial killer. To be more precise. I mean, who has a red room?
I haven't seen it, but
I read the synopsis.
You read the synopsis. Even then, I like 50 Shades of Grey isn't something that will be done again today.
Yeah, it's still more romantic than
more romantic than anything that's today, right? Like no, today is like woman needs no man. It's not even men are evil. It's just like this girl boss thing, but like the girl boss can't work in a team.
It's like it's not even men are evil. It's men don't exist.
Yeah, kind of. It's very bizarre. So I mean, my wife, she doesn't know anything about politics, and she was watching Netflix Wheel of Time, and she noticed that the men they look handsome, they look good, and the witches they were like over the age of 40. The no eggs meme, and not only that, but like they chose some of the most ugly actresses possible, and their makeup team, instead of trying to make them look better, they made them even uglier. So my wife was like immersion broken. It's like, why are these 10 out of 10 husbandos, these beautiful men, why are they lusting over these like below mediocre women?
Now, to be fair, witches are supposed to be ugly.
Not in the book.
But yes, and the thing is that even in TV shows where it's not necessarily a negative character, the women are less handsome than they used to be, let's put it this way. And sometimes that looks intentional. And
oh, I know it's intentional. I speak with people from within the industry. And they tell me that it is a specific design that they want women to look in a way to fight against modern beauty standards.
Right.
But
there's just one problem. The modern beauty standards are not modern at all.
Yeah, they're very traditional. the interesting, to fight against traditional beauty standards, my bad. The thing is, like, we never lived in a more fake time in human history. Like, you have Twitch, where the women that are there and they're making money for their looks, the ones that are using the looks, they have filter, they have cosmetic surgery, they have makeup, they have perfect camera angles. Like, they spend a lot of money on fakeness in order to adhere to the traditional beauty standards that allegedly we shouldn't believe anymore, because wherever you look, you see fat acceptance, you see...
To be fair, some of the Twitch streamers should be liable for a lawsuit for fraud. I'm just saying. But yes, who makes these decisions?
I think it's part of the culture, really. Like it's at the point where you can't really go against the grain because you think other people will call you out. There's also the ESG investment that actually does play a part.
Yeah, but I doubt that the ESG investment cares how that much how characters look. I mean, even ESG wants to make some money off of it.
No, it's the fact that the activists care, right? So like you have environmental, social, and it's the social aspect where if you get the activists to be pissed off, it lowers your social level.
Right, so it's another case of employee capture of an organization. Yeah, fair enough. You mentioned your wife earlier. Does she even know what you're doing on the internet these days?
I get this question asked a lot. But from what I know, most of the hentai game developers, they're married. So it's not something unusual. And in my case, considering that it doesn't involve real people and the fact that it's a business, my wife is perfectly fine. In fact, like she even helped me select the eye color, one of the characters. It's still a shameful topic, let's put it like this. Like I do realize that there's a cultural taboo. Like I'm not trying to make this mainstream and acceptable. But I have been lucky with the woman I chose to be my wife.
Nah, fair enough. No, I don't know about the taboo thing. I mean, I'm relatively acquainted with the owner of a porn studio in Budapest. And his wife is actually deeply religious. But they basically told me it's a very similar thing. Well, it's a business at the end of the day. And
and I'm not exploiting anyone. Like I'm not trying to convince young women and to come to make TikTok videos or...
Fair enough. And at the end of the day, nobody is manipulated.
No, like I work with artists and musicians and game developers, so it's not...
Right. So let the chips fall where they may if it flops. But again, as you mentioned, you don't have much competition.
No, not at all. And as long as things go... It is difficult to promote it, though, because... for some reason, there is a war on porn on the internet right now. I do think due to the economic crisis, you have a lot of these actual women that are doing OnlyFans and stuff, and they're protected by the umbrella of the ideology of sex work is real work. But unfortunately, if you make something like what I make, which is just complete drawings and it's nothing real, we're not protected by the umbrella of sex work is real work. So it's a lot easier to attack, and it's not just the gaming industry, but VTubers and anything that's not viewed as being a real woman. And I guess like it's just the way the culture is going. It's just something that you have to deal with it.
Yeah, we're heading into an even more sex negative standard than the already pre-existent sex negative. I don't know if you've managed to see it. I made a video 2 years ago about the trade-offs of the sex negative culture. Nobody thinks of present day as a sex negative culture, but it is.
It is.
And it's far more sex negative than the 1950s. Everyone thinks of the 1950s as a deeply repressive place. Yes, but in the 1950s, youngsters would discuss about sex with their parents and with their priest and with their community leaders. And then they would hook up and hang out at the bar. Remember those places? These days, a lot more of youngsters are far more siloed in an online bubble, and as a result, everyone is less happy than ever.
But the conversations as well, like, did you watch anime? Because you say you don't play video games, but like anime, are you familiar with it?
Very vaguely.
There's this show called My Hero Academia, and it's, I guess, like Japanese version of superheroes.
Okay.
And they are represented to be between the ages of 16 and 18 in the show. But some of them have revealing costumes, like some of them have cleavage. The show isn't sexual, like it don't have even kissing, but the costumes are revealing, let's put it like that. People on Twitter, especially the left, call it pedophilia. Like if you like that, you're a pedophile because you're sexualizing a young girl. And
the
I
age
think
of consent in Japan is 13.
They don't care. They don't care.
Respect their culture, you fucking imperialists.
No, they really don't care. The arguments have shifted completely.
Right.
But what's interesting is that when I go to American media from the 90s and I show them pictures of Catwoman, Teen Titans, another great example, There's also Shazam. There's a superhero that's like a little kid.
Not familiar with that one. But...
So he's a little kid. He's like 12 or 14, and he says Shazam, and then he transforms into this muscle man, and he flirts with Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman at one point even has like more than flirting with him. And I'm saying, like, in the 90s, this was normal, right? And this was far more sexual than what people in Japan are doing in mainstream anime shows like My Hero Academia, which is incredibly popular.
Right.
And the characters in My Hero Academia are drawn as adults. Like, they're not, I mean, lore-wise, they're 16, but they're drawn as if they're like 20 or 21. So this fake moral outrage, I think, started when Vice magazine released an article inside the anime pedophilia of Japan. And this article was banned in Japan so that people can't criticize it. Comments disabled, and it got a Pulitzer Prize for the documentary.
Yet another prize that is worth zero or less than zero.
No,
to be fair, the Pulitzer Prize was always worth less.
Yeah, but what I think is happening is that the comic book industry in America is just almost dead. Like, you go into a comic book store filled with anime and manga, they took over. And I think like this is their attempt to try to fight back, to try to shame the people who watch anime or who engage in these activities.
So the public comes back to their crappy product.
Yes, right. So that they go back to Disney.
No, so it's frustration that they can't compete, basically.
Yeah, and they're also trying to centralize the anime streaming services so that they can then have like their own censors. You want to stream into the United States? Okay, well, you need to have diversity, inclusivity, equity in your anime. Because the main problem is, and I've been saying this to my followers, I learned more conservative values from anime than I have learned from any right-wing political podcast.
Right. Even if that were not true, it is still anachronistic to think that in the current year you get to centralize the media of other countries.
They try to do what Japan did to the United States. Like, if you look at TV shows in the US, they have LGBT representation across the board. Look at movies and you'll notice that it's very rare to see a gay character in an American blockbuster movie because they can't sell in China. So basically, this is what they're trying to do. It's like, okay, you're a Japanese person, you want to sell your anime in the West. You can only do it through our streaming services.
Yes.
And you need to censor it so that...
Yes, but the thing is that the United States is not China. And how exactly are you going to stop a company from Japan from just selling it on their own website and pay electronically, and that's it? And the money goes straight into a Japanese account. And just ignore their lobby.
I mean, technically they could, but it's the same problem like creating BitChute, right? Like the audience is not there. So if you want to make a lot of money, you have to sell through Funimation, and Crunchyroll, and Crunchyroll I do foresee that they're going to have like certain editorial guidelines.
Well, it's the same conversation that we were having on your channel. At the end of the day, it is the human action. If the customers and the regular plebs are stupid enough to accept it, then they're getting what they deserve.
Yeah.
As another popular pop culture character said, you get what you fucking deserve. And you do think that's funny? I do, and I'm sick of it pretending that I don't.
Yeah,
right?
It's kind of like that.
And so at the end of the day, it's still on the decision still needs to be made by the fans themselves rather than by institutions. And by the way, since it's just cartoons, does it really even need that big institutions?
I mean, again, the main problem they have, so going back to My Hero Academia, which again, you probably not heard of it, but it's, I think like it and Demon Slayer, one single issue, managed to outsell the entire American comic book industry put together.
Yeah, so it's probably pretty good.
Yeah. They teach young kids about respecting your roots, your heritage.
So it's a far-right comic book.
Yeah, it's a far-right comic book. They teach you about the power of friendship and keeping your friends close, that good triumphs over evil, that crime doesn't pay. You know, kind of like American comic books used to do.
But the last one is a lie. However, all the others are true.
But you can see why that causes them to foam at the mouth when like young kids choose to watch that over Disney.
Yes.
So they really don't like the fact that they don't have control over this area of culture, which is becoming more and more prevalent. It's not just like people watching anime, but if you look at the young generation, they like VTubers, they dress with anime t-shirts and paraphernalia. They don't do that with Marvel or Disney anymore.
Not anymore, yeah.
Yeah, so they're livid, they're desperate. they're trying to find a way in order to stop that avenue of culture from infiltrating mainstream American culture.
Right, but again, the solution to that is making a better product. But I suppose that's the far right solution. Someone from the donor circle asks that if you think a crash of the video game industry is imminent.
It already happens.
Really?
We're living in it. This year, 4 major titles were broken at launch. Like, imagine this: you're buying a product, a refrigerator, you're plugging it in, and it doesn't work. And the idea is like maybe wait for a couple more months until someone comes up and fixes it for you.
but you paid already.
You paid for it already, yeah.
No refunds?
No you can get refunds on Steam, but still, like, this is unusual. To have, like, actual broken games that do not work. And not only that, they cost $70. So, I don't know if it can get any worse. I mean, it's already here. And most video games, they're not as interesting as they used to be. So.
Right. Now, I don't know about interesting, but I do know that I was told a few years ago when things like Steam showed up that there would be better quality control. And in fact, there's many reasons for why you should accept this bullshit type of centralization. Because look, you're going to get better quality control, no more viruses, a very easy way to acquire legal games and all sorts of that. And now you're telling me that they're basically releasing dysfunctional software.
So in a way, it's true that you do get better quality control because you refund it. Right? So you get your money back. But there's no games to buy. That's the problem.
So it's kind of like communism. The market exists. It's just that the shelves are empty.
Basically, without Steam, it would be worse because you would be stuck with the game. I don't think like these companies would accept refunds, although they would be forced. They would be compelled by the European Union. But
that and lawsuits, and also you'd be buying it from a store. Most countries have some sort of return policy, so there's that. But it would be, I guess, more difficult.
It's more convenient because you get the game, you see that it doesn't work, and you refund it. It's just like there's nothing to play that's more upsetting for people. Sure, there are a couple of titles. There's Baldur's Gate that I talked about coming out, and Street Fighter 6 and a couple of others. But overwhelmingly, major disappointment this year.
Right. So you're saying that we're already living into the collapse.
Yeah, it is definitely a collapse. There has been another one that happened. They made a game called E.T., if you remember that movie with the alien.
With the alien, yes.
I think even now, if you go into the desert of Nevada, you can still find E.T. cartridges. Like, they had to bury them because no one would buy them. It was like one of the worst games ever made. And they had like mountains of cartridges that they buried in Nevada under the sand.
Definitely was a good product. So in response to that, will we see a rise in the more single A or double A kind of video games?
It's very expensive to make a game, especially in this economy. I'm paying around like $4,000 to $5,000 per month. So right now, most people are very conservative with their financing. And
since the interest rates have gone up, getting financing from a bank, even if assuming a bank would allow for financing something like that, is still more difficult.
Yeah, I don't think that we're going to get indie titles in the future. I mean, there will be some, but it's not going to be like a golden age.
Right, but how do bigger studios do it?
They use AI. They're finding people. The AI they're using is made in house, so they're trying to
get it even more proprietary than in the past.
Yeah, they're trying to use AI especially for image generation, for environments, and they then use an artist. So it's a lot easier to like use AI, create the environment, and then have an artist correct the issues in there. But no, like major studios are downsizing. They're also
firing people. I've seen some.
Yeah, but at the same time, they're also doubling down on the wokeness. For example, I think it's Ubisoft. Yeah, Ubisoft will call the cops on you. So if you have a friend and you're playing online and you're talking with someone else with a headphone and you say something hateful, they will report that.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward. I mean, I don't play video games, but if I would, I would do exactly that as a routine. Yeah, good luck calling the cops in Romania.
In Romania, no, but in Britain. Like the thing is, and this is what's really scary. Like if you have children, you should be concerned about it. When we grew up, if we wanted to play a video game, like, did you ever play like something?
Yes, I did.
What did you play?
But much rarer than Well, for instance, I'm as old as I got to play Wolfenstein 3D.
No, but like a video game with multiplayer.
Other than Counter-Strike, no.
Okay, Counter-Strike, right. So like back in the day, there was like Counter-Strike Exe on your desktop. You double-clicked it, and you'd go for a server, you double-click that, and
I was never, by the time that I was able to afford that, I stopped playing video games. No, I would play multiplayer in an internet cafe. I was never wealthy enough to be able to afford that at home.
Well, all right, well, let's use a different example, right? Let's say there were two kids around the world, right? One from the United States and one from Romania. And they both have Quake on their desktop. So they double-click Quake, and they go to the same server, and then they're online. Now, you need to create an account, give your personal email, your personal information. You need to two-factor authentication, they call it. Give your phone number.
With the phone number, yeah.
And then, and this is being pushed now, everything you say is monitored. So like if you type something, if you're using voice chat, it's being recorded and it's being searched for hate speech or hateful conduct or whatever. So the push is
so it's a lot more of a niggardly environment, right?
Yes, but it's definitely a push for more control, getting people used to the idea that the normality is to actually be surveilled, and it is for, I guess, like a different institution larger than you to decide what is okay and not okay to say. And I don't know, like I find this fascist shit to be incredibly cringe.
It is cringe, and to our luck, the kids agree. One thing we used to say during the pandemic on our podcasts in Romanian: if you're looking for the far right, try your child's bedroom. That's where the far right is. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they'll grow up like that, but
I mean, they have a school system to help them improve.
Although the school system, as any other state bureaucracy, has its own inherent honks. And this whole tranny shit doesn't help either, especially as more and more kids end up on the wrong end of the woke. But nevertheless, yeah, the concern is a legitimate one.
Your computer is spying on you.
Yeah, getting the kids to be accustomed to that. But I suppose the concern should have started a lot earlier, since too many parents, unfortunately, of our generation, started just shoving the phones into the faces of 2-year-olds. Just so that they can get them shut up.
Yeah, and most parents, I think that this is because parents don't really have time to parent. We noticed this trend, if you remember the Dungeons and Dragons Satanist panic. So what was that, right? It wasn't really about Satanism. A lot of people didn't actually look at the phenomenon. But it was parents who were concerned that their children, instead of going to school, they're just playing Dungeons and Dragons nonstop, right?
Right.
So,
which, if it were true, it would have been a good thing, because school is terrible. But...
Yes, but basically, this caused parents to be alarmed, right? And instead of parenting, they caused this moral panic in the US. It's the same thing now, except now the companies, that's okay, we have a solution. We're going to monitor your child. We're going to make sure that your child is
There's
decent.
no Satanism there, and there's no...
Yeah, there's no Satanism. It's just like thought control. We're going to make sure that everything your kid says is being monitored. Yeah.
Right.
And it starts with like stuff that everyone agrees. It's like, okay, well, no slurs, no this, no that. But then it goes to like political things and talking points. And
although I don't even agree on the no slurs thing.
I found a very interesting study. I can't correlate it though. But basically, before video games were censored and people could say shit on the internet, the suicide rate for teenagers was very low. The moment the censorship started, the suicide rate goes back up.
Yeah. Of course, the correlation doesn't imply causation. However, we do know that the founding moment of human civilization started with the first man, and yes, it was a man, who decided to curse instead of using the bat to kill the offending party. Right? Go fuck yourself rather than literally club their heads to death. Right? That's the founding moment of human civilization.
That's such an interesting point. Yeah.
Slurs and curses are something to be managed, not something to be stamped out. They're a legitimate expression of emotion, usually frustration, but not just frustration. Sometimes they can also express the happiness as well. I mean, happiness can be expressed with slurs. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that.
That is such a good point. I really love it.
Managing slurs is a good thing. trying to stamp them out is terrible, in addition to not working, of course.
No, like what I noticed, and this is what I told, I even wrote an article in the Lotus Eaters, that the reason we have free speech is specifically to prevent violence. Because if a person has a grievance, the first thing he will do is he's going to try to air it out. Yeah. But if you're not letting him talk about it, he still has the grievance. Now, if he can't talk about it, then the next logical step is going to use violence in order to...
Yeah, there's a few steps between them, but yes, eventually it does end in violence.
So as you pointed out, like when people play video games, then it's the same like when they play, when they watch sports, right? And you have like the person cursing at the TV and so, it's to eliminate the frustration. Yeah. And it is a healthy male mechanism that feminists constantly say, like, why men don't cry. It's like, because men don't have to cry. They have different ways of expressing themselves. And screaming at the television when you don't get your goal, when you're...
Or kicking the keyboard, or even throwing the keyboard off the wall, which is still preferable than throwing the keyboard in the head of the opponent.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I mean, obviously, there's impulse control and various levels, and I don't think like you should throw the keyboard because like you're not an animal, you need to control yourself. But cursing online,
you'd be surprised how many things used to happen in the internet cafes, especially since matches were played on relatively high amounts of money as well. Yeah. Because if you want to maintain the interest,
well, if money is involved, it's different. But usually, I'm saying like in your house, throwing the keyboard is a little bit over the top. Again, this is not even a question on why people should or shouldn't do it, but it does relieve stress. It does relieve frustration, and it's a healthy thing. But apparently, it's not something that you can do because you get banned now.
Right. So you mentioned kids playing video games. One of the donors asked, what was the first video game or what the first video games that you played, either as a child or as a teenager?
I used to play on those floppy disks.
You can definitely know these are not my questions because I would never ask this because I don't care.
I used to play on those floppy disks back in the day. My dad had a laptop and
laptop with the floppy disk. Yeah, that's been a while.
It was a game called Prehistoric. It was like a little guy with a club running around, and it was a 2D platform. I mean, I've been playing since the young age.
Super Mario, the older one, where you jump with the control keyboard.
There was the one with the gun that you shoot the ducks on television. Like that was very popular.
Yeah. Volfied with the worm.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think we're from the same generation, basically.
Yeah, I know a doctor for whom I made a functional a 186 computer.
I've never seen one of those.
So he can play Volfiad in his cabinet. And he still does it in 2023 on the same computer. I was surprised that thing still works. I worked to install
They don't build them like they used to.
They don't build them like they used to. Yeah, I installed Windows 3.1 for workgroups on it in 2007. So it was already a piece of antiquity when I installed it, and that same installation still works today.
I
16 years later.
I only touched a 486. Maybe I touched a 386. I'm not sure, but
probably
the 186.
In school, if you went into a more fancy school, they had 386.
No, my mom worked at the university, and
definitely universities had 386 and 486. Right. So you trashed the video game industry. So what are you playing now? Since you
there's not that many games. I mean, I'm making 4 YouTube videos a day, also working on my game, so I don't really have time to play.
Fair enough.
But I do try every now and then to play some Street Fighter, maybe some Baldur's Gates, but like very rarely. Oh, they made Counter-Strike 2.0 now, so I'm going to try playing that.
20 years too late for me to care, but fair enough. All right, someone asks about the debacle with Unity game engine. Given that debacle, how do you see the future of video game development? Now you explained to me that they're basically trying to grift.
Yeah, so every single video game has an engine. I'm pretty sure you know how that works, right? And most of
my background is in programming. I know the software.
Like even when you say programming, like there's a difference between like gaming, coding for databases, and
yeah, but the basics are
okay.
Not that
So most companies like myself, I could make my own engine, but it's very expensive. So you have to use one that's already made. The people unfortunate enough to use Unity found out that they changed their terms of service to up their prices, and not only that, they wanted to install. I guess it's could be considered malware, a callback system, right? So if you install a Unity game on your computer, it calls back to Unity, and assumingly it only gives the information that you installed the game. I don't know if that's the case.
We could test it.
Right. But they basically said that every single game developer has to pay for installs. So if your game, Unity is free. Like you can use it now, it's free. But if you make more than $200,000, then it starts counting installs. And if it goes
How
over...
do you know I make more than $200,000?
It's an honor system, but you agree to Unity auditing you the moment you start using their engine.
How would you audit it?
They demand through a legal proceeding that you show them your company's tax returns.
You are not obligated to do that as a Romanian citizen.
As a Romanian citizen,
you can
no.
tell
but
them to politely fuck off.
no, like what they can do, I think. Like first of all, they can shut down your game, right? So now your fans are upset, like your donors, your backers, the people. But secondly,
Okay, that's a serious
Yeah.
enforcement mechanism.
then
Far
they,
more serious than what you mentioned earlier.
yeah, then they can sue you in the United States. Now, of course, the United States can't apply the law here, but if you do business with American banks, then they can seize your assets.
Yeah,
and
they can freeze your account.
Yeah. So theoretically, there is some level of enforcement. But the main problem wasn't that. The main problem was that they wanted to charge people for installs. So if your game, and they're the ones that count the installs. So imagine a system.
Yeah, and but if it's an honor system, then how do we know you counted the installs correctly?
And that's the thing, right?
Who's
Like,
auditing the auditors?
I mean, I assume that like if I make my video game and they're selling that I sold 4 million copies, I would be like, so you think I'm selling more than a AAA game? Are you fucking crazy? Right? Like there may
So
be
they can't
that.
Exaggerate too much. But
They can't
they
exaggerate
can.
too much, but it's in their interest too, right? Because like they're making money. So if your game gets pirated, that's an install. If someone buys 3 copies of your game, that's 2 extra installs. And the problem was that the price for this had no cap, and it also had like no time period.
There's no statute of limitation.
Yeah, like basically, according to them, if in 2050 people want to install my game, then I have to pay them money. So a lot of developers were upset.
What if the company that developed your game doesn't exist anymore at that time?
I mean, I don't know. This was not enforceable, I think. Like, this was just batshit crazy and insane. I don't know if you know EA Games.
Yes.
Their CEO is now running this company.
Right.
So-
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know too much about EA Games products other than their FIFA game, but I do know a lot of EA
Their
Games
Steam,
employees and a lot of EA Games former people with leadership positions. So I'm not surprised that this came from EA Games.
So many people were upset, and now they rolled back some of their decisions, but they lost the trust of the public and the developers because the idea that they can change the contract on the fly unilaterally is what pissed people off.
All right, so there was no consultation.
No, overnight.
Just overnight.
Overnight, they were
by
like,
the way,
yeah.
you owe us a bajillion shekels.
No, they said from 1st of January, you're going to have to do this. And yeah, I mean, and take into account those $200,000 isn't just like your game sales. It's so if you have like a business like me, like a PFA, all of it. If you have like a Patreon, if you have merchandise for the game, like all of that counts. Microtransactions, right? So
even things that are just straight up not related to their product.
And
the merchandise is definitely just not related.
And it was gross revenue. So basically,
pre-tax.
If I make not only that, like when I sell my game, Steam takes 40%. My publisher is going to take a cut. And then the Romanian government, right? But they wanted from the whole thing, like even before the publisher, even before Steam.
All right.
So I'm like, Jesus.
So it's 200,000 in revenue.
Yes.
Not even. All right. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's straight up crazy.
Like a lot of people were like, we can't operate like this. Like you're going to bankrupt us.
And what's going to be the option? I mean, I can.
They backpedaled.
As a seasoned financial criminal, the first thing I would do is okay, fine. My company is in Saint Kitts and Nevis.
Yeah, but most people don't want to play like that. You know, like most people genuinely want to do proper business with these companies, and most people want to be honorable. Because like most people pay honorably. Like most companies that I spoke with, they don't try to skim the system. Like when they make a video
Yeah,
game.
but then again, you play honorably with those who play honorably.
Yeah, I know, but
If
like
you play dishonorably, the first thing I will do is to evade your system.
no, like most people.
That's why I'm pro tax evasion, because taxation is illegitimate and theft, and therefore it's self-defense to try to avoid yourself being stolen
the
from.
roads, though.
Unity does the same thing. It tries to rob its own customers, and just because it thinks it has a captive market.
I think what they really tried to do was to destroy the competition on ads on phones. Like a lot of phone games use Unity, and phone games are very profitable. So there was like another system that people could use to put ads, and then there was the Unity system. So what I think was happening is that if you use their ad system, they would cut you a deal, and you wouldn't have to pay that much. So basically, if you're a phone game, it became impossible to use without the Unity's ad system, but they couldn't say that legally because it's unfair competition and business practices.
It would be abuse of dominant position.
Yeah, so I think like that's what they were actually aiming at, but they didn't realize the collateral damage that they were doing.
Yeah, which sounds like EA games.
Yeah.
They generally don't think about second tier and third tier consequences.
Yeah.
It was the same thing when they tried to forcibly introduce women's football into the FIFA game.
Oh God, yeah, and they were as good as the Brazil team. Yeah.
Yeah, and they did, but then at the end of the day, you couldn't play as women. I mean, even if you wanted to, you could play only demonstrative games. And I'm like, this is
really? I didn't know that.
Straight up tokenism. I mean, if you're gonna introduce women's league, well, okay, fine. Then introduce all of the women's leagues and let's play the European Cup.
Because the thing is, like, but they would have to pay money. Right, they would have to make contracts with all the women, and and that is expensive.
Yeah, and definitely not profitable because who the hell cares about women's football?
Well, the activists, right?
Yeah, the activists too. But even the activists, they don't go to the matches. They don't go to support those women's squads. I mean, I suppose they.
I don't watch football, but like, why don't you want to see jiggling titties while watching the game? Is it that really that?
No, the problem is that the quality of the game is just poor.
They don't have the strength to kick as hard, or what?
Yeah, I mean, if you and I gather another random 10 guys from the university, take the IT people who are also fat like us or worse or fatter than us.
They play better than women.
Yeah, and if we start playing against what's the current champion, I think is Olimpia Cluj in Romania.
Yeah.
If we play against those women, we will win 100% of the time. No doubt.
Is that the difference that strong?
Yes, yes. I mean, there's a reason you see that the world champions, when Sweden was the world champion in women's football, they played against 14-year-old boys.
I remember that, yeah.
And they still lost, even though the boys were not allowed to do sliding tackles, and the boys played in teams of 10 rather than 11, and they still lost.
Do you think like adding transgenders into the mix makes it more interesting?
Well, transgenders can play right now. I mean, you know.
Yeah, but like with a match with a transgender person, make it more interesting.
I don't know. As far as I know, there are like 3 or 4 transgenders in professional football worldwide. They're not particularly good, but they're not particularly terrible either. So, and they're treated as one of the guys, you know, as they would say in the Polytechnic, fetele de la Politehnică sunt băieți de treabă.
Girls from the Polytechnic are good guys. Yeah,
good guys. Yeah,
but it's interesting because you can tell a girl that she's like one of the guys, but if you tell a transgender woman, which is also a woman, that she's like one of the guys, that is the most offensive thing that you can possibly imagine.
Not the troons that I know. I mean, you know, I know personally only like 3 troons. One of them is crazy. The other 2, we went to the shooting range together. And they're pretty nice people.
See, there's a difference between that slur and actual transgender people.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That slur was used to define the activist. It's like it's a caricature of what a trans person is. But the activists made it sound like, no, it's a slur towards all trans women. So they
again, the saner ones that I know don't I mean, they make jokes about themselves.
No, because that's an interesting thing. Like I noticed this because I have donors that are transgender. And a lot of trans people are fed up with the activists.
Of course.
Like they can't handle them anymore. And it's interesting because the activists...
They have the most to lose. Think about it this way. I mean, the more the activists push, the more the societal backlash goes stronger. And the societal backlash will win, for sure. And when that happens, the modicum of quote-unquote progress that the trans people have gotten so far will be out on the window, for sure. So, you know, of course the transgenders have the most to lose, And if they're smart, they would be the first ones to push back against the activists.
Because I mean, you already have like gays against groomers, I think it's called. But when society does the backlash, they don't go like a little bit; they go all the way back.
Yeah, which I hope it happens. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the non-leftist backlash against transgender ideology doesn't go far enough. I mean, I haven't seen any wood chippers lately, so it's definitely not going far enough. In any event, what about on the privacy angle? Has anyone argued against unity on the privacy ground?
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned before, the way the internet is going right now is for everything to require a login, a phone number. I mean, they even tried ID to protect children in some cases, but it didn't work. But it's definitely like the internet is going to a place where you don't have privacy anywhere. Google Dropbox, for example,
unless explicitly chosen by the service provider, and most won't. That's what basically.
Yeah. No, it's I can't say it's dystopian, or I don't know. It's kind of difficult because, like, here in Europe, we always knew that it's normal for the government to listen in on your phone or to check your mail. But I thought that at least in America, like, most people would find it abhorrent for the government to listen to someone's private correspondence.
Well, the government isn't. It's private companies on behalf of the government.
Yeah, but
the government can't. There's such thing as the Fourth Amendment.
No, but we saw in the case of Twitter that the government is pressuring these companies.
Yeah. But to be fair, the Twitter files were also misinterpreted, because the Twitter files also revealed quite a lot of instances where Twitter said no.
This is the argument that Short Fat Otaku is saying, but my point is, like, should the government even ask? I mean, if Don Corleone comes to your store and you say no...
I agree with this, with the court ruling that says the government should not even ask. Yeah. But what I am saying is that we should also be very nuanced about throwing the baby out with the bathwater, and just also remember that the possibility of saying no is still there, and it's demonstrably happening.
I mean, sure, but it is duress, right? Because the government doesn't ask.
Of course.
The government doesn't ask, the government demands. So, of course, you can say no in some cases, and maybe even the government allows you to say no in some cases to give you the illusion that you have some choice. But no, I definitely think it's abhorrent what happened. And I'm pretty sure, like, even when we had the communism, like, there were some individuals that said no to the Communist Party.
There are some individuals who kept their property all throughout communism.
Yeah, but
it was hard.
Yeah,
but it was doable.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that what the government was doing wasn't abhorrent.
Oh, of course, of course. Right. Someone asks here, how do you see protection of private property when it comes to software evolving in the future? Will people overall de facto give up on private ownership of software as the trend is moving to everything online, or is there going to be some backlash?
Right, so there was a news article that I'm going to make a video about today. Apparently some Japanese people had their doujins on Google Dropbox, and their Google account was terminated. There was another issue where there was this movie during the pandemic with the Plandemic, I think.
Yeah.
Was removed from Google Dropboxes.
From Google Dropboxes, yeah.
And there is no more privacy. Like the idea of having things in the cloud, especially now with AI technology and stuff, they will look, they will check, and they can ban your account. Now, if you want privacy, I suppose having like a physical storage device in your house, like a USB.
No, not USB. I have an entire wardrobe full of hard drives.
That as well.
Works just fine. Good luck deleting anything from those without physically killing me first.
But like the most concerning thing, I think, like what would interest you is to know that most people don't use books anymore, right? Like most people go on the internet. So
books can be selectively edited all at once.
Exactly. Like if you look at
it happened already.
If you look at Webminster Dictionary, or what it's called.
Yeah.
They change definitions all the time to fit political messages. The best example is during the Supreme Court nomination of Amy Coney Barrett. She said gay, not gay orientation. She said something like he chose to be gay. And they decided that, no, that's hate speech, because people don't choose.
Well, there is an article on the BBC, which I always get blocked by leftists whenever I quote it, because you can't argue against it. It's an article on the BBC. It's called "I am a homosexual" or "I am gay, but I wasn't born this way." And it's a story of a young homosexual man who more or less, okay, maybe not chose, but definitely there was a lot more non-natural causes to him and turning up homosexual.
From what I know, from medicine.
What I'm saying is that there is an argument there.
No, I know what you mean. Like, I can't choose to be gay right now, right? Like, no matter what I want, I can't put in my head to suck coke. Now, I could probably suck coke if someone pays me $4 million to it.
Or right? If you're in the correct prison.
Or that, but like, you can't really will yourself, right? At the same time, there are individuals who are, but from what I see on the studies with identical twins, it happens that one twin is gay and one isn't, right? So it's not genetic. And I think it may be that some people have a predisposition. Like there are certain
epigenetic conditions.
Yes, yes.
The flips, the switches are not.
Diabetes, for example, is a perfect example. Like you can have predisposition for it, but there needs to be environmental factors that trigger it. So I think like maybe it's like that. But my point with the dictionary is that she said chose to be gay. All of a sudden they claimed it's offensive, even though like one of Obama's aides said the same thing.
Yes.
And they changed the definition in the dictionary literally the next day to say that it is offensive to say chose to be gay. It's sexual orientation.
Right. It's kind of the same thing. I mean,
so my point is like
the definition of vaccine changed several times over the last 3 years.
So the thing is, you're going to have an argument over the internet with someone, and you're going to be like, "I'm right." Like he can't be correct, and you're going to look it up. You're going to pull up the dictionary and say, "Holy shit!" Like he's correct. And then you'll be like, but hold on, I'm sure, right? And you go to your book, to your bookcase, and you pull the dictionary from your grandfather, and it's written with ink, and when you open it, you see that you're correct. And this is like the actual danger of the internet. When we say you don't own stuff, is that the stuff that is on the internet, you actually don't own. It can be buried, manipulated, changed at a whim, and most people not only not know it, but when you tell them, they think you're crazy. They don't follow this.
Right, because it's only an avenue of the terminally online or those who are in some way interested in certain subtopics to follow these changes. Most people definitely don't follow these changes. By the same token, however, there have been cases here in Romania of some very pointed articles which would have probably disappeared from the National Library. And the only reason that they haven't is because they were saved and archived on the internet. So the argument can go both ways, though I agree it often goes in the way you described it a lot more often. But will we find a way to get to the much closer to an equilibrium on this?
No, because there's no political will. Like most people like the system, most people find it convenient.
Right.
And the danger is, I genuinely believe wholeheartedly right now that if the big tech companies wanted to, they could literally delete a video off the internet. So let's say pandemic, right? They didn't go hard enough. But if they literally wanted to, they could just delete it from your hard drive. If Microsoft, Google, Facebook, Twitter work together.
Yeah, but they can't delete it off the internet because always a copy or two survives.
Sure, but like they would make it so that an average person has no access to it.
Right.
Very unlikely that. And Google already does this with the search engine manipulation. Like you're manipulated even before you finish typing the word.
Yes.
The search results that you get, they aren't like what actual people want to find. And a perfect example was if you go women can. And at the time, I don't know if they changed it, but it's like women can fly, women can have penises, right? So you get like all of these things. And your mind is that this is what people are actively searching for. But in reality, it's like what Google wants you to search for.
Yes,
yeah.
Which is rarely the case, right.
And there's like one more thing that the Google employee told me. And this is very interesting, is that if you take a new phone, that's like brand new from the store, and we put it on the table and we have a conversation about cars, and we talk about cars for one day. When you go to your Google accounts, you're going to get advertisers for cars.
For cars, yes. Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that has been a thing for about 10 years at this point. It's not even new. And it's one of the many reasons why I'm a big fan of physical conversations without phones around, preferably not in the same building. Now, 10 years ago, when I would make this argument, I would...
People would say that you're crazy, yeah.
Yeah, tinfoil hat, crazy conspiracist, whatever, far-right, whatever. Nowadays, I even get center-left people who are like, yeah, of course, so where should I leave the phone? It's not that the Overton window shifted a little bit, but in the sense that more and more people are realizing that this is a thing. Now, the problem is, will enough realize to change anything?
No. The thing is, you can tell a person and they can believe you, and they will still have the phone. The interesting thing is, those old phones wouldn't work like this. So if you have like the Nokia phones, but they're not legal to sell in Romania. I mean, you can get them if you want.
No, I bought this one legally.
Right, like they exist, but the legislation is pushing to eliminate them from the market. Why do you think that is?
For the official
raw alert,
region,
I know.
Yeah, the official. But then again, Poland, for instance, has their own version of raw alert that actually sends SMS, so it works on these old ones too.
Interesting.
So there is a technical solution to that, but of course we both know that that's not the reason.
So what is the real reason?
No, the real reason is, of course, being able to snoop into everyone's conversations. Government doesn't necessarily care that much about money, but it cares a lot about power. Companies rarely care about power, but they really do care about money. So it's a very...
So like the Romanian government, if they want to fuck someone, they start listening to his phone.
Of course.
And it becomes a microphone, right?
Yes. And it's at this point in time, I mean, in 2013, it required quite a bit of resources to pull this one off. Today, the two of us can do it, to anyone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a reconversion cannon, it's called the device. It's available on EMAG. It's about 12,000 lei, so it's not exactly cheap, but it's not exactly expensive either. 12,000 lei is what? Less than $3,000. It's not really that much money. It's a lot of money.
So you can listen to your neighbor's house?
Oh, for sure.
Jesus Christ.
With a strong enough one, you can listen to this entire neighborhood. And it's not even complicated.
Why isn't it
the only limitation is that sometimes it downloads the data so fast that if you don't have a quality enough hard drive, it may blow up. So you better use a bigger
Why
SSD.
isn't it a huge controversy over this? Why isn't
because the vast majority of the people doesn't even know what a reconversion cannon is. You just found out from me. But look it up. Tunde reconversie. I'm not
No,
joking.
I believe you, but like now that I heard it, I'm a little bit surprised that I didn't hear about it.
Yeah, because again, most people don't follow tech, or they follow tech in a very superficial way. And most of these so-called tech gurus, which is why I don't take seriously anyone who talks about tech that doesn't mention fundamentals. Most of the tech gurus are focused on various features or how it looks or whatever, but they're never focused on the fundamentals. And most of the IT people are either straight up incompetent. There's a huge competency crisis in IT. And those who are not incompetent, their mindset is not oriented towards trade-offs. Because unlike the savants and the scientists of the early 1900s, the current tech people haven't internalized that biblical lesson. Just because you can
doesn't mean you should. Yeah.
Right? So today is technological development uber alles.
So what else can you listen to? TVs? I guess?
Only certain smart TVs, though in Romania that would be difficult because most people have them pirated. So
PlayStations?
PlayStations, the newer ones for sure. The older ones depends on whether they're connected.
And if you can
not.
Listen to it, it means the company can listen to it, right?
Oh, of course. Although again, it depends on the model. It depends on the kind of connection. For instance, now again, I don't have a TV and I definitely don't have a PlayStation. But if I were to put one of those in my house, you couldn't listen. The company couldn't listen to them because, my hosts file that is used to block things. Most people's hosts file is about 1 kilobyte. My hosts file is 2.4 gigabytes. It has a very long range of things that are blocked. So
and like if you're an average citizen, Jesus, this is where you're supposed to ask me questions, not the other way around. But like if you're an average citizen, like what should you be concerned about? Like obviously they're not going to listen.
Anything that's connected to the internet and that shouldn't be.
No, but I mean like they don't listen to what I talk with my wife, right? And
no,
they listen.
All of it is listened to. The question is not whether...
But they don't have the manpower to listen to everyone's conversation. So I assume like they only listen to like high-ranked people, like...
Not necessarily. I mean, those are the first targets, but not necessarily.
And they have keywords, I guess?
Yeah, some of it is activated by keywords. And sometimes people who try to protect themselves actually make themselves even more vulnerable. And for instance, when the GCHQ tries to snoop on people, it's usually a large graph of all of the internet traffic. You know what comes up as self-evident, something that you should zoom in on? If you're under 2 layers of VPNs and one darknet connection underneath another darknet connection, yeah, I'm gonna zoom in straight up on you because that's not normal.
Yeah.
One VPN to fool in Netflix, perfectly fine. Nobody's gonna notice it. Two VPNs to go on darknet, everyone's gonna notice that one. So
the more you protect yourself, the more likely you are to get listened to. Yeah, that makes sense.
As an expert in cybersecurity, sometimes people ask me, under how many VPN layers? I'm like 0 or 1. Never more than 1, and oftentimes 0. Because again, the protection starts even before you connect yourself to the internet. Do you have your internet connection in your name? Terrible. Don't. Do you have an internet connection that connects to your real address, your physical address? Don't. And you'll be surprised how easy it is to pull that one off. And of course, there is also the other argument, oh, but you can't order anything online if you were to adopt your lifestyle. That's wrong. You can order under a fake name on an easy box.
Yeah,
it's remarkably easy.
Yeah, the interesting thing...
In fact, it's easier today to order anonymously than it was in 1997. In 1997, you would have to deal with the clerk from the post office who would never stop asking bullshit questions. Today, no, there's no question.
No, the interesting thing is that here, at least in Iași, and I think it's the same in every place, is like we got the RDS, right, Romania Data System for Internet, or DG now, right? The switch they gave you, the modem, right, the switch, yes, it only works in your neighborhood. So you can't like get an address in another place and then get the modem in.
You'll be surprised. But
I'm pretty sure.
I'm not telling you how in front of the camera.
I'm definitely sure it's possible.
It's
but
very
like
easy.
Most people don't know it, right? Like it's not designed for like someone like if I were to live in another place to bring the modem for here. Like it's probably designed like this so that it knows where you are, right?
Yeah, but the reason being that RDS is built on top of like 50 or 60 separate networks. And if you can port your username on different equipments, it will bork their servers.
I see.
So that's the main rationale.
It's not for spying.
Well, it may be for spying now, but the original rationale for which they zoned things was precisely so as to stop borking their servers.
I guess like the government in Romania must be pretty pissed off that it can't spy on the rural people because they don't really...
Yeah, well, it's in fact easier to spy on rural people.
Is it?
Yes.
Well, the classic method.
Yes. You only have to buy up one person.
One priest, yeah.
Maybe 2. Not one. I mean, in a village of 3,000, you have to have one working for you. That's enough. Whereas in a city of 1 million, trust me, that's difficult. It's very difficult. In any event, someone else asks about also, due to comfort, physical ownership of video games has been erased from the market. Same thing with software. And there are 2 ways to actually own games now, piracy or GOG, but both require free space on your storage. Are you hopeful for a return to physically owning entertainment?
Won't ever happen.
Really?
Convenience.
Really?
Yeah.
Let me give you a counterexample. Vinyls.
Oh, but that's like some collectors that like to have vinyls. But like how many
people... Used to be true. 10 years ago you would have been correct. Today you're no longer correct. Every single concert sells vinyls these days.
Really?
And they're always sold out.
I'm surprised.
Even obscure shit now sells vinyls.
If I want to buy a pickup, can I? Like a new one? They make them now?
Of course.
That's really interesting. I'll probably get one. It's nice because it has like this
record player in English, not pickup.
Yeah, they have like this interesting.
The sound is different.
Sound, yeah.
It's not necessarily better, but it's different.
I would say that maybe this is the reason of vinyls, right? Because the sound is better. But it's not necessarily due to the fact that people like are concerned that if they download the music, it's not theirs. I think like what you found is like one example. If you can give me 3 more, I'll believe you. But it's probably due to the collecting thing, right? Like it's a vinyl, right? And the sound. But with video games, no, I don't think so. Like no one wants video games. Like there are people that if you give them a physical copy, they do not want it. Like they legitimately want. And look at the way the computers are made, right? I guess like you could somehow have like a USB with the video game. But most games, if you buy them now, they require a login. they give you a serial number that you just type. So like you get the box, you open the box, there's nothing but a serial number and a web address.
Right.
So you don't really...
So you can't even play the video game unless you have an internet connection at least once to activate it.
Yes.
Right. Right. That's terrible. Okay. Fair enough. Given that a PC, laptop / spy phone is physical property, do you think the same logic can apply to usage of CPU and GPU of said products, graphic processor unit? Are unskippable ads a violation of private property? No, since the user does not get to choose how his property is used. Interesting question.
Not really, I don't think
Not
so.
really,
And
yeah.
especially since the user can install ad block.
Yeah.
There is something
And you
interesting.
also do consent to ads.
There is something interesting if you follow the AI trend, which I understand you're not a big fan of, but OpenAI and the US government did have a couple of talks about it. Kamala Harris was the AI czar. But
That's how you know it's going nowhere.
yeah, pretty much. But the interesting part of it was that there were people from academia which are concerned about AI ethics. So basically you have the AI, which is functioning, it's perfect. I noticed this with a thing called character AI. It had the ability to create very immersive characters from movies, from TV shows. It like legitimately talk like that character. It was very fun. But then they wanted the AI ethics into it, right? So no more racismus, no more pornography, no more, right? So by doing this, it lobotomized the AI. It made it dumb and unintelligent. So what ends up happening is that you have now other AIs which are trying to catch up to OpenAI. So OpenAI wants to legislate against them. And one of the things they wanted to legislate is to ban the sale of graphics card A100 graphics cards. Because you need them to make an AI.
Right.
So the US government was actually in talks to figure out ways to do this, to require a license for people to buy it so they can't create their own AI. Because the problem is the AI would often say stuff that it considers true, right? So like if you asked it to tell you a joke about Americans, it would say, you know, like 3 British people going to a pub and the AI would say they watch football. Then you'd watch it like 3 Muslims going to a bar and it's like the AI would be like, they blow it up. Because the AI would look at the previous database, the trends, you know, like what people would talk about.
They'll try to cough up a stereotype that is as close as possible to what it is. Yeah,
yes, and people were horrified by it, right? Because and not only that, like you had people that could actually get genuine knowledge from the AI, right? Unlike the search engine, which was heavily curated. So this is where the AI ethics come in. And they're afraid that there's going to be new companies, which already are, that can make you have your AI on a laptop without internet connection. It can't spy on you. It can't gather information.
Right. So basically glorify the Elisa offline just like in 1980.
ChatGPT 3.5 level, right? But you can have it on a laptop, basically. So they're trying to figure out ways to stop that from happening.
Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that. I mean, the way to make those video cards is also public information. It can be reverse engineered, and the United States cannot convince China or Taiwan, for that matter, not to make them. And there's such thing as contraband.
I think they don't really mind if like an individual has it. It's just they don't want the company to have it, right? So if you're a company and you're operating online, then they can actually come and check, and they can ask like, where did you get it? But I don't know if they're going to manage to pass this legislation, but still...
They can pass the legislation, but good luck enforcing it. I mean, if it's a company from St. Kitts and Nevis, where, by the way, the entire political class of the United States has their money stashed, so they're never going to clamp down on something so irrelevant. Because, you know, the government in St. Kitts and Nevis can say, okay, fine, I'm going to publish all of the bank records in our little islands. How about that? Well,
the thing they're afraid of, again, is they're really happy with the system of censorship that's now. Like there are certain information that you can't find on Google. Like Google controversial topics of abortion, of climate change, of like all these things. You're only going to get one side of the story, right? Like with climate change, almost guaranteed, you're not going to get any counter argument by using Google search engine.
I'm willing to make a demonstration. It's true.
If you're an average person
you have to be a bit more careful
know-how,
with what you look for, and you have to understand how it works. But yeah, generally
with an AI, you got it in an instant, right?
Right. You can ask pointed questions, and you'll get quasi-pointed answers unless it hallucinates.
They have fixed the problem with hallucination. It's still there, but it's not as bad as it used to be. But that's the point, right? Like they don't want the public to just pick up their phone and have access to information that they can verify. And by the way, about hallucination, Bing AI gives you sources now. So they replaced, like Google was on high alert because of it. They were afraid that people will use this instead of Google search engine. And I use Bing AI. It's a lot faster than Google, and it actually gives me what I want. It doesn't just give me...
Bing, which I suppose it's owned by Microsoft. Right.
Well, right now they have the interest of, I guess like convincing people that it's better than Google.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure if people move to Bing, it's going to be censored.
Yes. It's pretty much like, with Microsoft, you can guarantee that because they have an impeccable 40-year track record of doing exactly that. MS-DOS 4.0 was probably the best operating system at its time. By MS-DOS 6.0, not so much. As more people adopted it, not so much.
Yeah.
Windows 3.11 for workgroups was the first graphic user interface operating system that could connect to the internet, which was amazing in 1984 when the internet wasn't really a thing. By Windows 98, it would come up straight up with viruses.
No, it's true. And I told my subscribers that. It's like right now, if you're using Bing, it's far superior than Google in any way.
5 years from now, who knows?
Yeah, the thing with Google is the same. Like I remember in 2014 when I was searching for something, it was like it went into my head before I can even type the whole thing. It knew what I was wanting to find. Now, if you search for a controversial thing, good luck with that.
Right. Which is why I keep my own library of links and downloaded PDFs.
No, I mean the problem isn't that there's workaround. Like they're not concerned with making sure that every single individual is controlled. They're interested in controlling the masses.
Yeah, the statistics.
The statistics, yeah. So like as long as like the overwhelming people think the way they want to think, they're happy, right?
It's good enough.
It's good enough. Like they're not going to convince every single person. There will be individuals like you that will have workarounds but they want to convince the masses of the message.
Yes, and it only works as long as you have enough plebs for whom Facebook is the internet or Twitter is the internet, because that's another thing, and it's in fact true of younger people rather than older ones. There was recently a study, a few days ago it was published. Zoomers were far more likely to be victims of internet scams than boomers and millennials. Because Zoomers, having grown up with almost exclusively on tablets and phones, they don't know a lot about the basics of how to use a computer. They don't know what a directory structure is. By the way, this is a very concerning issue. Every single professor of computer science on anywhere on the planet complains about that, because the new students don't know what a directory structure is. So when you teach them the first command, which is cd change directory, what's a directory? So they have to have extra classes on the basics that you and I learned on the fly because we have to pirate things.
But like, no, the question was like the mainstream internet, like there are other competitors coming, like TikTok, right? Like TikTok didn't exist 4 years ago, but like TikTok a good thing? Just because...
I'm not saying it's a good thing, quite the opposite. But what I'm saying is that, especially for younger ones, a certain app or a very limited set of apps, that's the internet for them.
Yeah.
They don't understand that.
It's true for most people, though.
But it's especially true for those who grew up with a tablet. Those who grew up using a proper computer, even by accident, they had to learn that there's something else other than their favorite websites. So they would at least have an idea that something else exists.
I mean, getting scammed is something that happened to my generation, right? Like, you're the 10,000 visitor to this website. Click here to redeem the prize. And
yeah, no, of course it happened to everyone. But as a rate, it's far worse with Zoomers.
Yeah. No, I believe it. And I think like, whatever, the alpha generation or whatever, they're going to get scammed. I think it's not necessarily like Zoomers. It's like being young and youthful, right? There's no class that teaches you how to avoid getting scammed. It's something you learn.
You'd be surprised. There is. Some governments have actually took it upon themselves.
Really? That's
people.
So cool.
Yes. I'm not saying it works, but what I'm saying is that there is a class.
That's interesting. I didn't know.
We've noticed software in the past decade getting shinier but more inefficient and dysfunctional. Fact check true.
Yeah.
Have you noticed a similar trend with the software you are using? Is your modern software just shiny bloatware?
Yeah, absolutely. With my video editor, with...
what are you using to edit your
Camtasia.
Well,
it's not the best, it's not the worst.
Not the worst, yeah. I considered that one, but eventually stuck with Sony Vegas because it's more boomer tier. And as opposed to Camtasia, it can work as pirated and never connected to the internet.
I don't mind about the. There we go. I don't mind the fact that it connects to the internet, but I'm used to it. It's functional.
I do because I also edit videos that I don't want published.
Yeah,
so,
I get it. But yeah, no, it is true. Like they are focusing. But you look at modern video games or modern movies, right? Like they spend hundreds of millions of dollars on marketing, and the actual movie is shit. That is the same with software as well. Like it looks good, it's shinier, but it's bad. Best example for this, Vox, I believe it was. Vox magazine made the video with how to build a computer. And it was a very shiny video. It had like really great presentation. It
High
was like
production value.
Yeah, did you remember
shit.
It was with the black individual, the black journalist? Like
Yeah, no, I don't remember the video, but I do remember reading about it.
So he puts a computer together, but like he puts it in a way that it was surprising that it worked. Like the fact that it turned on was a fucking miracle from Jesus, right? So people start shitting on it. And of course, Vox magazine starts copyright striking them. I think like they copyright strike even themselves on Twitter. But yeah, but the idea was this, right? Vox still carries like more prestige because of the production value. Like people genuinely give a shit about the production value. Whether if you have like an Indian guy that goes in the garage and he shows you how to build a computer and he builds a perfect computer, well, he doesn't count because he's not Vox, right? So like he doesn't get views. Because that's what the market wants. That's literally what people are looking for. Like they will not give views to the quality. They care more about the presentation.
Right. Although maybe some of that has changed. I mean, look up on those specifically Indian channels that show you how to fix hardware stuff. Look up on their video on their views trend. It has accelerated over the last 3 years. I don't know if YouTube intentionally did that.
Maybe they did because they had a.
Or it's just that so many people are actually looking and just show me how to fix my issue. I don't care if it.
Do you know what's interesting? I was told about when I was told about this, I was mind blown. Like, how do you find the best Chinese restaurants in the United States?
I don't know.
So you look for those that have 3.5 stars, not 4 stars, not 5, not 2, 3.5. Why is that? Because most Americans care more about the service, the waiter, right? So like when you go to a restaurant, everything they care about is the waiter.
Yes.
Meanwhile, the people who want good food, they care about the food. So they go to these places where maybe they don't have the time to be nice to you, or right, and they just throw you the plate, but it's excellent. It's an amazing food. 3.5 stars.
3.5, yes. Because wasps and Baituo will vote 1 or 2 because of a terrible service, and normal people will vote 5.
It's shocking when I heard about it, because
it makes perfect sense.
It makes perfect sense. Yes. Yeah, it's like the
having been to the United States and seen how they behave at restaurants, which is absolutely disgusting. I can definitely believe that 3.5 is probably the best. Yeah.
It's like, don't go to 4, don't go to 5.
No, because if it's 5, then that means they're excessively passive aggressive and annoying as fuck.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, if you ever go to the United States, you'll notice this. I mean, we're planning on going and have something to eat after we finish this, and we expect to have a conversation while eating.
They don't let you in the United States?
Thankfully, we're in
Romania. In the
United States, you wouldn't get the chance to have a proper conversation because you'll be interrupted every 10 minutes by the waiter coming in and asking if everything is okay.
And can't you tell him to fuck off?
Yes, but it's rude.
Oh, and even if we're Romanians. When did that stop us?
Yeah, and if you tell them to fuck off, then they'll fuck off for just 20 minutes and then resume the cycle. They're like NPCs. Why? Because it's all about the tip. And God forbid you don't tip them.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, which I never did, of course, because, as any poor European does, screw you. You ask for this amount of money, here's the amount of money.
Do you know that it's rude in Japan to tip?
Yes.
Because you're basically assessing a value to his service.
Yes.
And his service is always exceptional.
Yes. I prefer the model as it is in most of Eastern Europe. Fine, if you want more money, you just ask for more money, put a 10% service tax or whatever. Or if not, then don't bother me.
You don't tip, right?
No.
Me neither.
Basically never.
My wife is horrified.
Or sometimes, I don't know, rounding up. I mean, if it's 137, okay, fine, you can stay 140 or something like that. But other than that, no.
Me neither.
Because, again, it's already expensive. And believe it or not, waiters aren't poorly paid.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's that.
I mean, sometimes I do tip if the service is really exceptional, but
Fair. I can understand that. But there's no such thing as, I mean, I don't care about the service. I mean, as you described it earlier, just throw the plate at me. If it's good food.
yeah, exceptional. It means like the moment I sat down, they're coming to me, right? Especially, it's unacceptable if there's no one in the restaurant and I have to wait for like 15 minutes. That is unacceptable.
No.
Right? If they bring exactly what I ordered, they do it in a good, fast manner. Then.
You already said how much you think of the Roman Empire, but how often do you think of the Roman Republic?
Is that before Emperor Aurelian, right?
Yes.
Well, see, therefore, since I know, it's because I already think about it. Yeah, it is very interesting. Like, even before medieval time, you have this place of democracy. Some sort of democracy.
Republican democracy, basically.
I do think about the Roman Empire.
Why?
Like, well, AI is making me think about the Roman Empire because if you actually were to invent an AI that you don't think is possible, but let's say you actually...
I'm not saying it's possible. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying it's not possible anytime soon.
Yeah. Let's say you actually make something that replaces people's jobs, right? Wouldn't that be like in the Roman Republic where you have the slaves that are doing the menial jobs? And then you have like the aristocracy, the patriarchs that are doing like the high profile jobs. The patricians, yeah. They're doing the lawmaking and everything else. But then you have like the class of the plebs. And they can't do jobs because they're taken by the slaves. They're not as good as the patricians to do the jobs there. So like what do? And wouldn't that be a thing that would happen here? If you have AI that takes the jobs of most people, you would have like the CEOs and the politicians that are on the top. And you have the AI that does like the menial labor. So what do the rest of the people do?
Yes, but as usual, I'm not a big fan of what-if type of history, and I'm not a big fan of true sci-fi in that sense. I'm a big fan of true sci-fi in the sense of Black Mirror, I guess.
It's true sci-fi. It's like dystopian shit.
Because they at least they get some things right, like David Cameron shagging a pig, for instance. Do you know the controversy?
No.
I can't believe I know a pop culture reference.
No,
that you
I
don't
did not know the one with them.
In one of the seasons of Black Mirror, they made an episode in which the entire royal family, or the inheriting princess of the United Kingdom, got kidnapped by a bunch of terrorists, and they said that they will release the princess unharmed if the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom shags a pig live on TV. The Prime Minister was David Cameron, both in the TV show and when the show was released. And eventually, in the episode, the Prime Minister shags a pig for the princess and the country.
Does he use a condom?
I don't think that's revealed in the show, but it's less important.
I would, it protects you from
More important is that the princess is released and everyone is happy. Fast forward 6 months after the show was released, it is revealed that David Cameron actually did shag a pig when he was a student as part of a student dorm challenge. So, as I said, I'm sometimes a big fan of true sci-fi in that sense, especially when they.
Do you think they knew?
No, they didn't. They didn't. And
but if they did knew, would they recognize that?
No, even David Cameron said that they had no way of knowing. So both confirmed it. No, they could not have known because the thing is that David Cameron, when he was a student, he made sure that all of the evidence disappeared. But unfortunately, one of his younger buddies decided to talk to the press about it because he thought it was funny anyway. And since decades have passed since then, there was no crime to prosecute and whatever. It was still embarrassing.
Did he admit it? Like he could have said that the guy lied.
Well, no, he just
I see.
Student indiscretions. But the point I'm trying to say is that I'm not a big fan of true sci-fi in that sense. So what would happen if the AI, first of all, in order for that to happen, there's so many moving parts that would have to align with each other in ways that is statistically impossible for them to do so. Secondly, it would require hundreds of billions, if not trillions of billions of human choices, all of them to align always in the same direction. Like, for instance, who wants to actually listen? Who is willing to pay the same price for a piece of music made entirely by AI?
Have you seen the music that's made now, Wet Ass Pussy?
Yeah, well, again,
Pussy so wet, bring a bucket and a mop.
do they pay the same price as the real one? And they don't. It's
No,
cheaper.
but like okay, so I can tell you this with art, at least. If you look at Cal Arts and the garbage that's coming out from Disney and you compare it with the AI art, the reason it's good is because the AI doesn't lobotomize itself in order to create.
You are correct in the sense that creativity is the creativity crisis. But then again, that's another aspect. You spend too much time within the Anglo space, and you start to confuse it with the world space. The rest of the world doesn't function.
Have you used ChatGPT?
No.
No, never.
No. Because I don't want to give them money.
Okay, no.
If
but
I
like,
can use it for
it's
free.
free. But it's free, yeah.
No, it's not free, especially if you want the full complexities of it.
So for example, if you ask it something like, write me...
I'm sure it can write poems.
Yeah, it can write, for example, the American anthem in the style of H.P. Lovecraft. And it does like a really compelling job. And then you look at what Hollywood is hiring. And you're like, holy fucking shit. And it's not because the AI is good, because like the writer for my video game can write much better than the AI. But the quality of Hollywood and the mainstream is so fucking low.
Yes, but then again, you're only looking at a tiny portion of the world.
No, I agree, yeah.
The United States is 5% of the world as a population.
Yeah, but as influence and importance is that.
It's 40%. But that still leaves 60% that is not. And in terms of art, the United States' influence on art is in fact declining much faster than its economic influence, for sure. In fact, the economic influence of the United States has been increasing over the last 5 years. But it's a cultural influence either stagnating or slowly going downwards.
I don't know, I see a lot of rainbow flags everywhere, so...
Yeah, on the US embassies.
But in Europe as well. I mean, look at the... culture in Britain. It's almost like even the concept where...
Yeah, Britain, that's grandfather of the United States.
I will actually say this. Everywhere where you had BLM protests is influenced by the United States.
You had BLM protests in Warsaw.
No, but like serious BLM protests. Not
right. Well, you had serious BLM protests in 3 places.
France, Germany?
No, not even Germany. France, Denmark, and the United Kingdom.
I think you had in Germany, like, because I remember like during the pandemic, I was like, well, why are they using the water cannons? Like, right?
But compared to these regular Antifa protests, the BLM ones are not even mostly peaceful.
But like the idea is like all of them are American imports. Like we don't have cops that shoot black people in Europe, and even in the United States, they
should we?
No, but like I'm saying, like in order to protest, something needs to happen, right? So.
Right, but even so, considering the sales numbers of Korean productions and Japanese productions, and more recently European productions, I mean, yeah, sure, there's plenty of crap as well. But just looking exclusively at North America gives you a very distorted view of the world.
I agree. I know, but like for example, here's something that where you can say that it's important. There was a Norwegian director, and he made a movie about Norway. I think it was like in the medieval era.
Yeah, and got condemned for not having diversity in it.
Yeah, and it wasn't condemned. It was like, well, how do you expect to win the Oscar? If you don't have black people. And they said Parasite, which is a South Korean movie, was in South Korea, but it had diversity because it's all of South Koreans, right? So like a lot of independent filmmakers and a lot of people that want to get nominated for prizes, they have to go to the American culture, and they have to apply the diversity, equity, and because that's the American culture now. It's not Hollywood and DC Comics and whatever.
Yes, but eventually, I mean, again, it depends on a lot of millions of human choices. So, for instance, I'm looking. I've been frequenting various sorts of film festivals that are explicitly no American movies allowed.
Really?
And 10 years ago, it was a couple of hundred people attending, and we all knew each other. Today, I don't know anyone that attends there other than my wife. It's a much bigger crowd and much more, diverse crowd. And the pool of movies that attend these kinds of festivals is much bigger. I mean, these kinds of festivals used to run for 2 or 3 days. Now they're usually between 7 and 12 days. There's that many of them. I mean, heck, the festival in my hometown, Transylvania International Film Festival, now runs in 3 cities because
are they like suffering from the diversity, inclusivity, equity crowd?
some films it's obvious that they did, most didn't. The one thing in common is that they don't actually get any American movies. They sometimes allow British films, but rarely. Most of the time it's films from Europe and Asia and South America, and that's pretty much it. I think once they had an African movie, but it wasn't particularly good. Speaking of which, Africa is the youngest continent. You'll expect them to want something entirely different from their culture. Just wait, in 10 years, their country median ages won't be 15, will be 20.
I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at South Africa, so...
No, not South Africa. I mean, South Africa, again, it's a tiny portion of the African continent. The African continent is 1.7 billion people. The South African Republic is 40 million people. So forget those. The rest of the continent.
I mean, if you want to have hope in the little people...
I don't have any hope. But what I'm saying is that they'll definitely want something different, considering that most of Western movies flop there. And European ones don't, for some reason.
Wakanda was very popular.
Yes, but Wakanda was a good movie.
Was it?
Yes. I mean, at the end of the day, it was a far-right movie. What was the plot of it?
Monarchy, big wall.
Absolutist monarchy, big wall, keep out the illegal immigrants, have an ethno-racially poor country, pure country. So, it was a good one, wasn't it? Right. How do you expect to deal with the increasing scandals once your video game is over? Your video game development should end in a year from now?
Yeah, kind of like that, yeah. I don't expect scandals from it. I think that it's just like something that I release, I publish, people that like it buy it, hopefully I break even, but I mean, it's not that controversial, right? I mean, sure, on Twitter maybe, the Americans, but I mean, there have been adult games that have been made up until now. There will be adult games that will be made. We live in the age of OnlyFans, Twitch streamers. I don't use real people, so I don't know.
Why do you go into arguments with every single petty troll on Twitter? Or
it makes clout.
Right.
Yeah, it's the only way
It's engagement farming.
Yeah, it's the only way to... And I say this on Twitter as well, like it's no big surprise. And I will say it here. Like, first of all, I believe the things I say. I don't just say, things to piss people off.
No, I'm not questioning that. What I'm questioning is why do you waste so much time?
Yeah, you make views and you make subscribers, and part of my job as a content creator is to get eyeballs on the product.
Right.
So it is the way you do it. But also, like, many times I do get DMs and it's like people saying, I changed my mind because of your post, or I didn't know, like, this thing. Like, for example, there were people that were concerned about anime and video games sexualizing women. And I say, we live in the age of OnlyFans, we got Twitch streamers, and we got...
I think women do a good job sexualizing themselves.
Yeah, someone literally messaged me, and he was a male feminist, and he said that the way you put it was actually correct, and I didn't think about it that way, and I apologize for talking shit to you. And I was like, okay, well, very rare. I'm not going to say it's often that's happening, but it does happen. So, yeah, it's... I guess it's heartwarming when you realize that you managed to make an influence on someone, and I do consider it's an influence for the better. But
yeah, well,
the journey to self-discovery has to start somewhere. So, yes. Like, I was like about that.
Absolutely, I mean, at Freedom Alternative, we usually jokingly say, but it's not exactly joking. The objective every year is to change the minds of 2 people, and if everyone would work to change the minds of 2 people, we would have a far better society within a decade.
Yeah, I do believe that.
Yeah. Right. Thank you for taking the time to chat with me. Thank you for allowing me here in this nice little corner of yours. Good luck with the game. Hope you'll have enough funding for it to go forward. I cannot promise that I'll play for it.
Yeah, it's fine.
But I'll gladly shill for it if it's especially if it's controversial. Especially if it's controversial, and if it pisses off all the right people, all the better.
Let's go to a restaurant now.
All right, let's eat, by the way. Thanks a lot for watching. Cheers. Bye-bye.